The new Strand Hunter meta is here, and I didn't think I would ever be making a build like this one on the Hunter, but here we are. In the gameplay, we are around 20 power level under, and I want you all to pay attention to how we have Woven Mail up all the time, and also we heal ourselves every time we dodge. So we now have a built-in wormhusk healing function with just a single mod combo we're running and infinite woven mail on the hunter, which is just awesome. And that's all thanks to some new mod synergy that we have access to. I also want you guys to watch our grenade ability as well. We all know how strong 2 shackle grenades are on the hunter in endgame content, and against the boss here we throw 6 of them and still always have 2 available, as you can see in the bottom left. We have infinite threaded spikes, which is our melee ability, and infinite class ability as well. We literally throw our melee ability 14 times against the boss and all the enemies around him. And remember, we already have infinite woven mail for that 60% damage reduction, and now we have infinite sever as well, where all enemies do 30% less damage to us. Then we're healing on every dodge. That is how we can become unkillable while throwing as many shock grenades as you want and as many threaded spike melees as you want. There were 3 major changes in Season 21 that all combined to make what you see happen on screen, even in difficult content, work. So we have to go over those, and once you understand how they all work together and rotate through your abilities properly, that is where you get this loop of unlimited abilities on a Strand Hunter, and you become unkillable with Woven Mail, Sever, and Healing, and you'll be getting a ton of supers and generating a ton of orbs of power as well. So the first thing on the Strand subclass is the Threaded Spike Melee, which is what this whole build revolves around. Now a couple days ago with Season 21, Bungie increased the damage versus PvE combatants by 55%. That's a huge buff, guys. It does around 20k damage on its first throw in just your general content, so it's gonna kill anything it connects with, but it also can chain up to like 5 or 6 enemies. And in regular content, that's gonna kill every single one of them, but in difficult content, it'll kill 1 or 2 and leave the rest severed. But another interesting buff that they did was increase the projectile travel range before beginning to return to the player by 30%. Now you might not think this is a big deal, but what this means is we can have 2 threaded spikes out at the same time. So we can dodge, throw our melee, dodge, throw our melee. So basically you have 2 threaded spikes out there hitting up to a total of 10 to 12 enemies at a time. Now they also slightly reduce the speed of the dart as it returns to the players to make catching more easily. We don't really care about that because we do catch it every once in a while, but it doesn't matter because you have infinite melees with the build, and they increase the gain for catching the dart based on the number of enemies hit as well. But again, we have infinite melee, so this doesn't matter as much. So now we have a pretty strong hitting melee that can hit multiple enemies and sever them. Now you're going to add 2 mods to this build for super regen. That's going to be hands-on and dynamo on your helmet. This is going to get that super coming back really quickly to us because of course you're killing things with your melee, and then you're also dodging near enemies all the time. And then 2 other mods that we're going to add for orb generation is going to be heavy-handed. So every time that melee kills something, we're going to gen an orb of power, which is going to be all the time. And also the Reaper mod on our class item. So after dodging, our next weapon kill spawns an orb of power. This works with every dodge, so that's really strong. But the final mod that's new this season that we're going to add to our dodge ability is Powerful Attraction. What this does is every time you dodge, if you're close enough to an orb of power, you'll just instantly pick up that orb of power and get all the benefits for doing so, which means it's going to play right into 2 different things. First off is our Strand aspect that we get Woven Mail for picking up an orb of power. And our melee always creates orbs of power, and so does Reaper. So there's always going to be orbs of power on the field. So every time you dodge and throw your melee and get a kill, you dodge again, right, as your general gameplay loop. And you're going to pick up that orb of power every time you dodge since you're already close to enemies. And that's just going to keep your Woven Mail up all the time. Next, we add on the mod Recuperation on your boots. And every time you pick up that orb of power, you're also healing like a built-in wormhusk heal. If you want to see the full text version of this build in one easy place, then you can find it over on Mobalytics. The link will be down below for you all to go see that over there. And that's a great source to find all my builds for Destiny 2, if you prefer to see it in that text format. So literally when you dodge, throw your melee, dodge, throw your melee, you're making orbs of power and you're picking those up with your dodge. Proccing Woven Mail, proccing healing. It's just an awesome gameplay loop and a really fun function that Bungie added. So we went over the Threaded Spike buff, right, our melee ability, and then we also added the Powerful Attraction mod on our class item. So those are 2 big buffs that happened. And the third one is the change to our exotic, which is Radiant Dance Machines. Radiant Dance Machine's perk is the dance. Activating your dodge ability while near targets allows you to dodge additional times for a short period. That was always the case before, but what Bungie updated is now defeating targets extends the duration of the additional dodge. You can defeat these targets in any way. This could be from abilities or weapons. So our threaded spike, when it kills something, extends the duration of that dodge. It can go all the way up to 10 seconds, so it's pretty easy to get either a weapon kill or a melee kill, whatever type of kill within those 10 seconds. That means we always have this dodge available, which means we always have our melee available. So since threaded spike got buffed and it does the great damage and we want it up all the time, Radiant's Dance Machines just plays perfectly into this. And then to top it off, we're always going to have our grenade available. 2 Shackle grenades on the Hunter is very strong, as you guys know, with the suspend debuff. And how we're keeping this thing up all the time is of course Thread of Generation as a fragment, so dealing damage gives us grenade energy back. But we're also running grenade kickstart on our gauntlets, so that's how we're consuming our armor charges to feed that grenade. And then you're also going to run impact induction on your gauntlets as well. This is dealing damage with your melee ability, gives you grenade energy. This has about a 5-second cooldown, but every 5 seconds you're getting a nice 15 to 20% of your grenade back just from throwing that melee, which we're doing all the time. To top it off, we have Bomber on our class item. This is activating every time we dodge, so it's just feeding our grenade as well. So it's a really cool loop that our dodge and our melee ability that we're throwing out so often for both of these are just feeding our grenade energy. And then in our boots, we also have Absolution and Innervation as mods. So those are both feeding all of our ability energies when we pick up Orbs of Power, which we're doing so when we dodge, and Innervation specifically feeds our grenade ability. So there's a ton going on with this overall build, but it all flows so well together, you don't have to go out of your way to really do anything. It's just dodge, throw your melee, dodge, throw your melee, add in your suspend grenades here and there, shoot your weapon here and there, whatever you really want to do. It's completely up to you. But the survivability is awesome and the damage is awesome, and you still get access to that suspend debuff. The survivability with Woven Mail and healing is just amazing. And then you throw in Sever on top of that, where enemies are doing less damage to you, and then just suspending enemies as well. It's kind of the best of both worlds over here on the Hunter. For weapons with the build, you can use whatever you want. I would say a strand weapon fits the build better, because you can throw on the 2 artifact mods, which is Improved Unraveling and Strand Soldier. I was actually using Final Warning in the gameplay, because I get those unraveling rounds just for hitting a nice burst on a target. And of course with those artifact mods, we're getting the Improved Unraveling for more damage. And we still just get unraveling rounds for our strand weapons anyways when we debuff a target with strand. So any weapons work, but a strand weapon just makes it even better. For your stats on the build, you want to prioritize resilience, obviously, discipline, and mobility. Those are the 3 main big ones on the Hunter. And really, those only 2 artifact mods are the ones that play into it. But even without unraveling and those 2 artifact mods, the build is very strong in its own, and I hope you guys go give it a try. For your 2 aspects, we are taking Widow Silk for those 2 Shackle grenades and the new aspect called Threaded Spectre. When you dodge, you leave behind that clone, it explodes, damages targets, and it sends out threadlings. But it does distract a bunch of enemies when you're starting off the gameplay loop of the build. And Radiant Dance Machines doesn't work with the dive, so we're taking Threaded Spectre instead. Basically, it's only there to help kickstart your entry of the gameplay loop. So as soon as Radiant Dance Machines falls off and you start the whole loop over again on your next group of enemies, that's when Threaded Spectre will proc again. For your 4 fragments, we already went over Thread of Warding to get that infinite Woven Mail, and Thread of Generation to get those infinite grenades coming back. We're also going to take Thread of Continuity to make all of our debuffs last longer. This is our Suspend, Unravel, and Sever. And this is great because it just lets us stay in the fight longer. And then we're going to take Thread of Mind. We get class ability energy when we defeat suspended targets. I really like this one because when you do end up getting your dodge fall off, right? Let's say you don't get a kill in 10 seconds. Well, you have 2 Shackle grenades at your disposal. Throw 1, suspend about 3 enemies, kill those 3 enemies, and you get your dodge back instantly for killing the 3 suspended enemies because of Thread of Mind. So it works perfectly if you mess up your gameplay loop and you need to get that dodge back. We already went over most of the mods too. On the chest piece, that's all your damage reduction mods as well. I know this was a longer video, but I wanted to explain it properly to make sure you guys all understood exactly what was happening within the build. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.